Pittsburgh has a substance to it. Startups are building things that solve real problems. That seems to be the driver for so many of our peers in the community here.
You know, here in Pittsburgh, there is a lot of tech talent, an abundance of tech talent. But not everyone that's out there starting a company comes from an engineering background. We're going to sit down with Patrick from Thoro, who are doing embedded technology for autonomous systems, to hear what they're doing to bring their technology to life. Patrick, I appreciate you taking the time to have this discussion with us today.
Likewise, Chris. Great to be here and really good to meet you.
And I'm glad we're getting to talk about embedded autonomy. And it's coincidental because you do work with like Big Joe forklifts. I've chatted with them before. You're doing automated forklifts. You're doing automated scrubbers. That's just the way I look at it, right? I shouldn't say automated, autonomous scrubbers, autonomous forklifts. But if we were sitting down over a beverage, how would you describe what you do?
So we're a platform, and we allow industrial equipment to operate without intervention or supervision. You can think of us as self-driving cars, but indoors.
Yeah.
Our business model is that we build the software, the cloud support, the deployment services, and we partner with OEMs. In many cases, OEMs know that they have a need for industrial equipment that is autonomous, but they don't necessarily have the time or the team to do it themselves. And we recognize that we're, at Thoro, never going to be great at global sales support and service. So by partnering with OEMs, we really have shared risk, economies of scale, and we can build great products while we focus on doing one thing and OEMs focus on the things that they will always be the best at. So that's how we've built the business. We have great partnerships, as you noted, one with Nilfisk. They're one of the largest manufacturers of industrial floor cleaning equipment based in Copenhagen, and another with Big Joe forklifts, who is the fastest growing lithium-ion based material handling provider. So we love our partners. We're working really, really hard with them to build products that really move the needle in terms of ROI and in terms of making industrial automation accessible to the broadest possible market. I mean, you've seen the same statistics I have. Industrial automation adoption is hamstrung in many cases by high cost, by complexity, by difficult and elusive ROI. So we're attacking those head on with our partners.
One question I have about the work you're doing, when you're doing these autonomous, I'm not going to say autonomous vehicles, right? Autonomous scrubbers, autonomous forklifts. Do you consider this like a controlled environment or like an uncontrolled environment? How do you look at, like, what way do you look at it? Because it's not like it's an autonomous vehicle that's out on the road where anything can happen. If you're a scrubber inside of an arena, for example, there are less variables. That's my perspective, but I'm curious to hear it from you.
Yeah, I mean, I see that. I think we look at it a little bit differently. We've got to build our tech to be able to work in the most complex, rapidly changing environments. Like for our scrubber, that's often airports. Airports are change very rapidly in terms of people coming, people going. And so we've got to have technology that's safe, technology that can respond and work in those types of environments. So we're dealing with a very kind of different landscape than self-driving cars. We also have a lot more flexibility to move. In our scrubber, for example, is closer to an AGV. We stay with very defined paths because we have a very specific job to do, and that's clean an entire area and clean it thoroughly and don't miss parts of it. But our pallet jack, in contrast, is an AMR, and if it comes across an impassable area, which often occurs in 3PLs and logistics and distribution centers, then it will come up with a new route that may be totally novel to fit the specific circumstances that it has. So, in some ways, some dissimilarities in terms of the environment being dynamic, changing, more variables than you might expect to see in a self-driving environment. But it's interesting, and you raise a really good point on, making sure that we're tailoring it to the environment. I think in early days, we were developing the scrubber primarily only for retail. And we've done really well in retail environments, but we've also seen environments that we couldn't have foreseen really also become its bread and butter. Schools, hospitals, airports are really kind of central to the environments that it's used in as well. So we've had to be pretty dynamic in terms of adapting the technology to be as flexible as possible.
So I've got a bit of a personal question for you. When I'm in Pittsburgh, I feel like a lot of people that come into this industry, start companies, take over companies, they've got that technical background. But you were an attorney before this. How has that helped you? And how helped like differentiate maybe the way you're thinking, the way the company is evolving? I'd be curious to hear your take on that.
Yeah, so my first, I guess, foray into tech was working as outside counsel to Uber's autonomous driving initiative here. And I got involved on business development issues also, and that gave me a lot of exposure to kind of the infrastructure that supports great technology development, and its partnerships, and it's having a strategy that's aligned with where the market is, in bridging both where the tech is, where the tech needs to be, and where the market is. So it was a great perspective working with a world-class team at Uber. I later went to work for Lime. Lime is a micro-mobility company, and helped with logistics and the operation on some of the back-end process that went into bringing scooters to the market, and shipping them, moving them, making sure we had assets where they needed to be. So that broad perspective has been helpful as we've kind of zeroed in as a team at Thoro. We have to have a fairly ecumenical view of where our customers are, where our market is, because as I mentioned earlier, sometimes we're developing something for a use case that we think is the use case that's going to be the primary kind of nucleus, and that we've got to be dynamic, and that perspective was forged a lot from the work we were doing at Uber, the work that I did at Lime. So it's been helpful to have a broad perspective. It's also helpful to work with just a group of people that are really just mission driven. We've got a great team at Thoro. We've got people that really believe in what we're doing, that we can make workers more productive and work more rewarding. So we've got a great mission, and it's helpful to just have a team like that helps someone who's got more of a generalist skill set like myself to for all of us to work together on a shared goal.
Yeah, so my last question was a personal question. This one's a broader question. How would you characterize the Pittsburgh tech community, robotics community, and how has that been helpful to someone like yourself leading Thoro?
I think Pittsburgh is unique because in so many ways, Pittsburgh has a substance to it that I've been able to contrast it a little bit to Silicon Valley from working with Lime, and I don't mean to suggest at all that one is better than the other, but there's a real substance here in terms of what startups are building. Startups are building things that solve real problems, and of course that's going on in every ecosystem. But that seems to be the driver for so many of our peers in the community here, and I think that stems from the overall supportive ecosystem that's here in Pittsburgh. We've got Pittsburgh Robotics Network, the Tech Council, RIDC. We've got very, very supportive and interested government agencies, the Allegheny Conference. So, all of that comes together to forge an environment that is great for finding talent, that's great for building talent. I mean, we have great schools and hospitals, and makes for an environment that allows technology to flourish. We've got a good story going on in Pittsburgh. Of course, we've got things that we need to be working on. We need to make sure that we've got the workers that we need for the future.
Yeah.
We need to look at some of the demographic trends that aren't necessarily favorable. So we also have to look at it with a pretty sober lens. But by and large, in terms of a place to build a startup, a place to develop technology, Pittsburgh's great.
Yeah, I think my big takeaway is Pittsburgh is a place of substance. The companies have substance to them. I like how you summarize that. So I look forward to seeing some of your technology in action as well. I wouldn't be surprised if I bumped into it out in the field already. But Patrick, I appreciate you taking the time to jump on for this quick conversation.
Likewise, Chris. Great to meet you. We'll see you out in the field.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Take care. Cheers.